Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, we're going to be learning a 50s rock and blues tune that I wrote, which is going to be part of our concept lesson series. Now, our concept lesson series is literally just a collection of lessons that help you learn how to jam with others. So as you saw in the performance, we've got electric ukulele plus U-bass plus electric guitar. So this series is a lot of fun because you get to jam with other folks, but they're also usually playing other instruments. So, a lot of us ukulele players love to play solo ukulele, but it's so much fun to play in an ensemble setting. And so this lesson series really helps you with that. And what I'll do is I'll put a link in the description box below to all of our concept lessons. So this is number 16 in the series. So if you want to check out the other 15, the link is in the description box below. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the electric ukulele. So this is actually our first lesson we've done on Rock Class 101 that has electric ukulele in it. And there's a couple that I have right here. These are made by Flight. And this one you can clearly see is styled after a Fender Stratocaster. And if I grab the other one, we've got another electric ukulele styled after a Gibson. Now, if you've played a Gibson guitar and if you've played a Fender Stratocaster, you know that Gibson guitars are really heavy, and that's the case with this one. This one weighs quite a bit more. I'd say actually quite a lot more than the Strat. So that's something I want to go ahead and point out. If you're kind of shopping around for an electric uke, that's something you want to be aware of because this one is a little bit uncomfortable to hold. I've never been a fan of Gibson though, so I want to go ahead and state that off the bat. I've always been a Fender, Strat, or Tele guy. So if you're shopping around between the two, definitely stop by a music store, try them both out, and you'll feel the weight difference. The weight difference does make it a little bit harder to hold and play, so if you're going to pick up one of these, I'd recommend using a strap, and that'll cut down on some of the weight and make it just a little bit easier to keep in position while you're playing. Now, if you don't want to purchase a electric ukulele, that's fine. You can play this song on acoustic ukulele, or traditional ukes. It sounds just fine like that. But I do think this song sounds really, really cool with that electrified sound. Now, the second option you have, or actually third option, is to do this. Give me 1 sec. So the third option is you can switch to electric guitar. And the trick is you have to add a capo to the 5th fret. So you can see I've already got my capo on the 5th fret right here. If I strum from 4 down, I've got the exact same tuning as a low G ukulele. And this gives you another alternative. So if you don't want to buy an electric uke, but you've got an electric guitar hanging around, chances are you probably have a capo as well. Just plop that capo onto the 5th fret and play from 4 down, and bada bing, bada boom, you've got an electric ukulele. Now, I'm actually going to be teaching the lesson using this method because I personally find this size of an instrument a lot more comfortable for me to hold as opposed to the electric ukes. To me they don't feel like the acoustic ukes. They feel really difficult to play and hold for an extended period of time. So I'm just telling you my honest opinion. It's not a knock against Flight. I just find this actual guitar a lot more comfortable, especially as we've got an entire lesson to dive into. So this just feels a lot more comfortable for me to hold and play. And so I'm going to be teaching you guys how to do this. Now, everything is relative to the capo. So when we put tabs up on the screen, everything's relative to the capo. So if I play on the open string, that's just going to be shown as an open. If I play the 1st fret, it'll be shown as a 1st fret on the 1st string, 2nd fret on the 1st string, 3rd fret on the 1st string. So for example, a C chord. Pretty self-explanatory, right? So with that said in mind, the big takeaway again is you need a low G ukulele for this lesson, so make sure you grab the uke with the low G, and let's talk a little bit about the lesson. So in this video, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to play the entire parts for the ukulele. So if you want to get the tabs to print and follow along with, that's going to be available at this link right here, or you can go to the site rockclass101.com, do a search for EP016, that's the lesson number for this lesson, and also on that page will be the interactive on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a really cool feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish, just a great asset in learning this song that much easier. And last but not least, there will be a backing track, and we'll have it at multiple speeds. So we'll have 100%, 75, and I'll take a listen. If 50% is fast enough where you can feel the beat, I'll upload a 50% speed as well. So once you learn this part, you can play along with the bass and the electric guitar. So that'll be a ton of fun. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into learning how to play it. I'm going to be using a pick. So if you've got a pick on hand, go ahead and grab it for this one. If you've never used a pick, no worries. You can do traditional finger picking. What works great with this song is a 4-finger approach. So string 4 is played with the thumb. The third string is the index. The second string is the middle. The first string is the ring. So that's a 4-finger approach. You can also use a 3-finger approach where string 4 and 3 is played with the thumb. Index gets string 2, middle gets string 1. Either or works, so you can even jump between those two. But again, I'm just going to be using a pick for this entire tune. And for my picking technique, I'm literally just going to be alternate picking. So just down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up throughout the entire piece. So very, very simple stuff for what our right hand's doing. What makes this song challenging is what our left hand's doing, because we've got quite a bit of chord work that we're going to be playing out of, and we've got some really cool bluesy licks spliced in on the second half of this tune. So let's go ahead and jump into learning it. Now, we're going to start with theme 1, and I'm going to put up the first two lines, or first two measures of tab. And for this first theme, I think what we'll do is we'll call out the rhythms as we go through this. So this song, you can see right off the bat, is in 6/8. So you've got 6/8 notes per measure. And it's very simple to start with. Here's what our first two measures sound like. So that's what our first couple bars sound like. So right off the bat, you can hear and see that measure 1 is identical to measure 2. So once you learn measure 1, you've got it for measure 2. Now the next thing that we can hear is that it's all steady eighth notes. So we literally have 6/8 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 per measure. So very, very simple to get us started with this tune. So let's learn how to make this C major chord. So go ahead and take the index finger and lay it flat across string 1 and 2 on the 3rd fret. Now we're going to take our middle finger and we're going to put it onto the 4th fret of string 3, and our ring finger goes on the 5th fret of string 4. So we've got a partial bar with our index fingertip on the other two fingers. So that's our C chord. Take a second to get comfortable with that. And all we're going to do is we're going to pick our way down and then back up. So we've got 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. So we're literally just straight down and then back up. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you look at measure 2, exactly the same. So if we try that 2 times in a row, it sounds like this. And let's see if we can try that together. We'll keep it nice and steady. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. Pretty simple, right? Taking a look at measure 3 and 4, we're going to switch to a C7. So take that ring finger, lift it up, and then we're going to move our index finger up so it bars across all 4 strings now. And you can notice that my middle finger stayed anchored. It stayed on that 4th fret of string 3. It did not move at all. So with this chord intact, we're doing exactly the same we did for measure 1 and 2 for this 3rd bar. So just straight down and then back up. Now that one's pretty self-explanatory, so let's take a look at measure 4 because it changes a little bit. Now if you look at the first half of measure 4, we're going to start the same, 4, 3, 2, but then the second half is a little bit different. Okay, so we start to add a little bit of variation with the melody. So for the second half, you're going to start with a strum from 3 down. Just give me a down strum. And then go ahead and take the ring finger, put it on the 5th fret of string 1, play that note, and then lift it up, back to the 3rd fret, which is still barred because we've kept that C7 intact throughout this. Okay? So let's do this. Let's play just the 4th bar by itself. I'm going to demo it for you, and then we'll practice that one. So it sounds like this. So let's see if we can try that one together. We have 1, 2, 3, strum 1, 1. Try it together. 1, 2, 3, strum 1, 1. Not too bad. If I backtrack, I play 3 into 4. Sounds like this. Let's see if we can try that together. So we have 1, 2, 3, ready, go. Nice. Now, if I backtrack and I play 1 through 4, this is what we have so far. So, sounding pretty cool. Nothing super duper challenging or hard yet. Let's go ahead and take a look at measure 5 and 6, and you can see that we're playing out of an A7 chord, so we've got a new chord shape now. So to make this chord shape, what we're going to do is we're going to start from the top and work our way down. So take your index finger, put it on the 2nd fret of string 4, take your ring finger, put it on the 4th fret of string 3, take your middle finger, put it on the 3rd fret of string 2, and then your pinky goes onto the 4th fret of string 1. So I have 2, 4, 3, 4. Okay, so take a second, get comfortable with this chord shape. I'll give you one tip. If you move that index finger up a half step, it's that same diminished shape that we've played a million times. So that's an easy way to memorize this. Now move it back to the 2nd fret, and we've got the chord that we want. Now, let me play measure 5 by itself and take a look at how similar it is to measure 4. So it starts the same where we have 4, 3, 2, and then it goes into that strum just like we saw in measure 4, so strum from 3 down. But instead of doing a melody on string 1, it's just going to walk its way back up on that chord. So you're going to go back to string 2 and string 3. So I've got 4, 3, 2, strum 2, 3. Okay, let's see if we can try that together. So we have 1, 2, 3, strum 2, go. Nice. Now taking a look at measure 6, it's going to sound and look like this. So we've got a little bit of a melody walking up on that first string, right? So for this one, you're going to go ahead and start the same. 4, 3, 2, then give me a strum from 3 down. Then we're going to start to walk our way up. So with your pinky, go up a half step to 5, and then another whole step to the 7th fret. So we have 4, 3, 2, strum 5, 7. Okay, let's see if we can try that together. So I'll play it once. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's try together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nice. You can hear that time I forgot to do the strum. Not a big deal. If you make a mistake, play through your mistake, right? Try to keep the timing nice and steady. Now, let's go ahead and try those 2 bars together. I'll play it once so we can hear what it sounds like. And you and I will try it together. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. Nice. Now let's go ahead and take a look at measures 7 and 8. So here's where it starts to get a little bit more tricky. It's going to sound like this. So we've got some cool chord changes coming up. Let's go ahead and break down the first one. So it starts with a D minor. So we're going to take our index finger, lay it flat on the 5th fret, strings 1, 2, and 3, and take your ring, put it on the 7th fret of string 4. So for this first hit, I'm going to do a strum across all 4, and then walk up. So string 2, string 3. So I've got strum, 2, 3. Then I'm going to switch it to a D minor 9. Now, to do this, I'm literally just going to lift my ring finger up, move my index up so it bars across all 4 strings, and then I'm going to use my pinky to grab the 7th fret of string 1. You can use your ring finger if that's more comfortable, so I'll leave it up to you, but for me, I think the pinky just feels a little bit more comfortable for this shape. So the tricky thing here is probably that transition, going from D minor to D minor 9. So you may want to just practice that on its own before trying to add the extra notes that we're playing out of. So again, I have strum, 2, 3, switch to the D minor 9, strum, 2, 3. So the pattern remains the same for the right hand. Strum, 2, 3, strum, 2, 3. Okay, and rhythm is constant. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see if we can try that together. I'll put it on a loop. So there's a few times if you want to really work on that chord transition. Loops are always a great way to practice. If you're not a fan of loops though, we can try it as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That way works just as well too. Now, going into the next measure, it gets a little bit tricky. We're going to go to an F minor chord. So this one, we want to really think of your stock E minor, right? Think of that staircase shape, that stock E minor. So go ahead and make just the stock E minor, and I want you to take that ring finger, move it up to the 4th string, put your pinky underneath, so where your ring finger was. Now if you take this chord shape and you move it up a half step, you get to where we want to go, which is F minor. So we have 5, 5, 4, 3. So that's kind of the easy way to get it ingrained in your brain, right, to memorize it. So for this first hit, I'm going to do a down strum, string 2, string 3, and then I'm going to switch it to a diminished. So remember our diminished shape we talked about just a little bit ago when we were talking about that A7, kind of the easy way to remember the A7 was to think of it as the diminished, but your index is back a half step. Well, you're actually going to go to that diminished shape right now. So take it back to F minor, 5, 5, 4, 3. And here's the easy way to transition from F minor to the diminished. So the first thing is that our middle finger stays anchored, does not move at all, right? It's just going to stay put right where it's at. So here's what happens. Your pinky's going to drop down to the 1st string, still on that same 5th fret. Then your index finger is going to come up, and it's going to go to the 4th string onto that 4th fret. And then your ring finger drops down right below where it was, so the 5th fret of the 3rd string. So I've got 4, 5, 4, 5. So take a moment to go from the F minor to the diminished, and you can notice that middle stays put, pinky comes down, index goes up, ring drops down. All right, just take a second, practice that transition. It's actually not super duper hard once you get the muscle memory down, okay? But once you get this diminished shape intact, we're literally just going to go strum 2, 3. So pretty simple, right? So for this bar, I have strum 2, 3, strum 2, 3. Okay, let's see if we can try that together. We have strum 2, 3, strum 2, go. Okay, if I backtrack, this is a little bit tricky. 7 into 8. Let me try that one more time, because I think I missed one note. Okay, and one more time for good measure. There we go. So it took me 3 times to get it nice and crystal clear. So don't beat yourself up if this is a tricky couple bars. It's tricky for me as well. So take this one nice and slow. Remember the tips and tricks for the transitions. And yeah, just this is probably the 2 bars that are the most challenging that we've had thus far. But if you've got it down, we can try it together. We'll try and go a little bit slower. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. So tricky, tricky stuff. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our next 2 measures, because this is actually going to end the first theme. So measure 9 and 10. So measure 9 and 10 is going to sound like this. So we've got a really cool hammer-on licks that are happening. Let's go ahead and break it down. So go back to that C chord, and we're going to do a strum, and then walk our way up. Second, third. So we've got strum, 2, 3. So nothing new happening right there. But at this point, what you're going to do is you're going to just keep that partial bar intact, and you're going to do the first hammer-on. So this first hammer-on is going to be the 5th fret of string 1. So we're going to literally, we can strum from 2 down and hammer on to that first string 5th fret. Okay? If you want, you can also do a kind of a hybrid picking technique where you pluck. So I can use my second and ring finger. I can pluck those 2 strings and then do my hammer on. So either works. You can do a strum or you can do a pluck. But either way, the goal is to do a hammer on beat 4. So strum, 2, 3, hammer. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? After that, lift the ring up, play the first string, and then take that ring, put it on the 5th fret of string 2. So we have strum, 2, 3, hammer, 1, 2. So that's a lot. Let me go ahead and play it without calling. Okay, with rhythm, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, let's see if we can try that one together. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. Okay, now as I go into measure 10, it's going to sound like this. So this one, you just want to kind of get memorized. Da, 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 ba, da, da. If you can sing it, you can play it. So ba da do ba do da. All right, so starting again with that partial bar, just the index. We're going to do a little strum and hammer on to the 2nd string this time. So to that 5th fret. Oops. There we go. So hammer on. Then after that, lift the ring up. Play strings 1 and 2 with the bar. And then take that ring, put it on 5 on string 3. So there's the first half. Okay, so we have hammer, strum, 5 on 3. At this point, you're going to switch to a G5. So think of your basic G chord. And instead of the ring finger being on that 2nd string, use your middle finger. So for this one, we're going to hit strings 3 and 2. And we're going to do a hammer on to the 4th fret of string 3. Okay, so quick little hammer on. Then lift the ring up, hit string 3 and 2 again. Then open C. Okay, so for the last half we have hammer, G5, open C. So if I put this one together, I've got starting on beat 1 for bar 10. So very, very cool, very awesome bluesy kind of lick. Okay, so let's see if we can try that one together. So we have ba-da-da, ba-da, go. And if I backtrack 9 to 10, so we try that together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pretty cool stuff, right? One more time for good measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nice. Now that's going to give us everything for theme 1. So there's a lot that we covered, but a lot of it was pretty straightforward. First 2 bars, pretty easy. Same with 3 to 4. A little bit trickier. Right, so it kind of starts out really simple and then kind of gets a little bit more challenging as it goes along. Let me play it once through again without talking in between. So that's kind of the gist of what it sounds like. So very, very cool once you get it down. And it's not a super fast song to play either. That's a pretty good speed to aim for. Ba, da, da, ba, 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 ba. So not super duper fast. I think this song sounds a little bit cooler at a kind of a slower pace. Now let's go ahead and jump into theme number 2. And theme number 2 gets a bit more challenging to play. So let's do this. Let's put up the first 2 lines of tab, so 11 and 12, and we'll tackle this 2 bars at a time. So here's what our first couple bars sound like. So that's a pretty good gist of our first couple bars for theme 2. So off the bat, if we look at just 11, we can see that we're playing out of the C chord. So back to that stock C for this song, not the, whoops, it's not the stock C that we know and love and play on day 1 of learning ukulele, but the variation of stock C for this tune. So it's a very simple beginning to this. So you're literally just going to go 4, 4 strum. We're going to try to strum from 3 down. We're trying to do a little pop 2 on that strum. You can see a little dot, that's a staccato dot. So you kind of want it to pop, ba, ba, pop, ba, ba, pop. So ba, ba, pop, ba, ba, pop. So try that with me. 4, 4, pop, 4, 4, pop. So a very, very simple start. Now, the key thing here is that you can see you're going to rest for a little bit before you go into that lick. So you don't want to rush into measure 12. You want it to be ba, 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 ba da 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 da, ba da 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 da, ba, ba, ba. So try to move your body back and forth, like sideways, da, da, da. Ba da 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 da, ba da 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 da, to kind of feel that beat. Of course, there's a backing track with this, so you can play along with the bass, and that'll kind of help keep you locked in the groove too. So I recommend once you learn it to play along with the backing track. Really, really does help you get locked into that groove. So ba ba da, ba da 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 da, ba da 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 da. Now that's the other thing, is if you can sing it, you can play it, because this next part starts our first little challenging lick. Okay, so just get that stuck in your head. Whoops. Right, so ba 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 ba. Right, so if you can sing it, you can play this one. So take your ring finger, put it on the 5th fret of string 1. We're going to do a little micro bend, like a 1/4 step bend. So we don't want to go a half step up like that. We don't want it to sound like that pitch. We just want it to be in between. So to do this little 1/4 step bend, take your index in your middle, put it on 3rd, 4th fret. So your ring stays on the 5th fret. And you're just going to tug the note up. And these 2 fingers help you to push the note up. And we just want to go just a tiny little bit up, just to give it a little bit of color. Okay? So we're just going to tug the note up, keep finger pressure held down while you're doing this bend. and then come back down and play the 5th fret by itself. So it should be quick. Da da ba ba, just like that. After that, lift up the ring and middle finger. Go back to the 3rd fret on the 1st string. So that's what we have. Ba ba ba. Then take your pinky, put it on the 6th fret of string 2, and then back to that 3rd fret of string 1. So watch my index finger. You can see that it's just going to stay put. Right? So it's just going to linger and hang out around that 3rd fret of string 1. Okay, so take a moment. You can hit pause on this video and just practice. Get that ba 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 ba. Now the thing that you want to notice too is that 3rd fret, that last note that we just played, you can see lasts longer than the other notes. So really pay attention to that too. Ba 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 ba. Right, you want those last notes of both of these little phrases to last longer. Okay, so once you're good with that first half, let's look at the second half. The second half's easier to play. It's going to be a walk down on string 2. So you're literally going to go pinky on 6, ring on 5, index 3rd. Then we're going to continue the walk down on string 3, 5, 4. So ring to middle. So if we try that together, ba da 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 da, ba da 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 da. Super duper easy compared to the first half. So putting it together is the trick. So there's a loop a few times through. Try to jump in on 1 or 2 of them. You can backtrack and see if you can loop it as well. But try to come in on at least 1 or 2 of those. And that's a good way to kind of get that rhythm and timing down for it. But if I backtrack now, I'm going to play 11 into 12 so we can kind of hear how it fits together as a whole. And we end up with this. Ba da da, ba da 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 da, ba da 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 da. Okay, and again, a lot of this too is a lot easier when you have the bass kind of providing the backbeat and providing the groove for you to fill too. You know, it's hard to keep perfectly in time, even if you're tapping your foot, because these blues songs, they always feel like they want to go a little bit incrementally faster as you start to build it. So you can hear I'm just speeding up as I go throughout this, right? It's just how it feels, you know? Music is always a way to express emotion, and sometimes when you're having like, for example, to give you an analogy, if you're having a conversation, it doesn't always stay at this exact same pace, right? Sometimes it gets a little bit more exciting and you start to talk faster and things, but for right now, you know, we'll try our best to keep the timing a little bit more steady. But that's our first couple bars. Let's take a look at what happens next. So measure 13 into 14. Now if you look at the first bar right here, 13, it's that exact same hit, but we're just playing it out of C7. So we know how to do this. Let's just look at 14, because that's the new stuff to learn. We've got a cool little lick that we're playing out of. So that's what it sounds like. Okay, so ba da 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 da. So same thing, you want to get this stuck in your head. So hit pause, just memorize that ba da 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 da. Now this one's actually a little bit easier to get down because the rhythm's really straightforward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can see it's just straight up eighth notes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's another trick you can use to get it down. But let's break down what's happening. So this measure is going to start with a slide of a double stop. Now a double stop is just fancy terminology that means we're playing 2 notes at the same time. So take your ring finger, put it on the 5th fret of string 3, middle finger is the 4th fret of string 2. You're going to hit those notes, and you're going to slide up a whole step. Now, if you look at 5-4 on the tab, you can see it's very tiny numbers, right? Because it's a grace note, so we want it to be a way to add flourish to our first hit, which means, in simpler terms, we want our slide to be directly on beat 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you don't want to go slow. You want to slide in and hit that directly on beat 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so don't linger. Give me a quick slide, 5-4 to 7-6. Now, when you get up to 7-6, you're going to hit it 2 more times. So just 1, 2, 3 gives you the first half, right? Slide 2, 3. At this point, take your pinky, put it down onto the 8th fret of string 2, and you're going to go ahead and hit those 2 strings one more time. So you can see that I just kept my middle and my ring finger planted. So slide 2, 3, pinky. Okay, so nothing lifted up. The only thing that happened was pinky came down. At that point, drop down. Your index finger is going to be a partial bar on string 3 and 2. So it's going to be on the 3rd fret. So hit that, those 2 notes, and then take your middle finger and put it to the 4th fret of string 3 while keeping this bar intact. So you're technically hitting 4 and 3. Okay? So all together I have from the slide. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's see if we can try that together. So we have slide 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so a little tricky, but not too bad. Now, if I put it in the context, that's what we end up with. So the same thing, you kind of want to just feel the groove. Right, so you can come in on one of those, just feel it, sway back and forth. Ba ba da 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 ba ba da. Right, but if we take away this tab and I play the first 4 bars, I end up with. Pretty cool so far. Now, here's where we left off, right? We left off with our ear screaming for resolution. And if we look at the next bar, we're going to an F. And we're going to get that resolution. Now, if you look at the first half of it, ba, da, da, we're back to that same hit. But this time around, I want you to take your ring finger, lay it flat on 5th fret, strings 1, 2, and 3. And you're going to go ahead and hit string 3 and 2, then 4, and then give me a strum of 3 and 2, but pop it again. So ba, da, da, okay? So you may want to practice that walk up. If you think about the previous bar, right, that's how our resolution is. If I play the entirety, okay? So you may want to practice going into the F. Okay? But the first part of this F, that pop, it's all the same stuff. So let's look at the last few notes of this measure. So it's going to start a little lick. And the lick, I think we should tackle it as a whole. Sounds like that. So the same thing as we've done throughout this lesson. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. It's hard to do a slide sound with your voice. Right. But if you can sing it, you can play it, even if it sounds a little funky. Okay, so to start this lick, we're going to take our ring finger, put on the 5th fret of string 4, then the index goes to the 3rd fret of string 3, and then back to the 5th fret, but this time on string 3. So that's our first few notes to finish up measure 15. Now if you look at 16, it's a little bit tricky because if you look at the first note, it's a grace note. So we have a quick la-da, slide up and then back down. So we're going 5, 6 to 5, but it's got to be that quick ba-da because we've got that grace note hit. After this, you can do a pull off to the 3rd fret. Okay, now here's the trick. When you go back to 5, I want you to not go on fingertip, but I want you to go about right there. Because what we're going to do is we're going to do a pivot to the 5th fret of string 4 for the next note. So you can see that I'm not on fingertip. I'm kind of doing it as a partial bar, but I'm really only pushing down and fretting the 3rd string because I'm pivoting up at that 1st joint to play the 5th fret of string 4. And you may be saying, why are we doing all this extra effort to go when we can just go like that, fingertip to fingertip? Well, when you do fingertip, sometimes you get a little bit of unwanted string noise and it just doesn't sound as fluid, the notes, right? You have a lot more fluidity when you do the little pivot technique. So give that a shot. If you've never done it before, it's pretty awkward, but it's really, really handy and useful for cleaning up your playing and kind of getting to that next level, right? Okay, so to finish up this, we've pivoted our way up to the 5th fret of string 4, and then we'll use the middle finger for the 4th fret of string 4. So the trick here, other than the little pivot technique, is just to get that ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's a little funky to sing it out, but it's really, really helps. Okay, and I think the best way to approach this is to just put it into that kind of loop where you're just grooving back and forth and you're feeling that beat. That's the best way to tackle this 2 bars. But let's go ahead and move on. Let's take a look at what happens for the next 2 measures. So that's what our next 2 bars sound like. So it's back to our F minor, and we've got the same pop, ba, do, da, but we're going to tag 1 extra chord hit at the very end. So remember that diminished shape that we went to? Well, this time around, we don't have to do the full shape. We're just going to kind of do the bottom half of it. So we've got from the minor, when you switch to the bottom half, it's going to look like the G7 chord, right? If you take that G7, you move it up a step and a half, that's where we want to be. So 5, 4, 5. So 2nd index ring. Now I'm going to do an up strum for this hit. So I've got ba, do, da, da. Okay? Now if we look at the next measure, we're going to keep this shape intact. Add your pinky to the 6th fret of string 1. Give me a down strum, play string 2, lift the pinky up, play string 1, then switch it to that same, remember how we talked about the staircase shape for E minor? If you move that up a half step, it becomes an F minor. And we're playing out of that staircase shape, but we don't even need the 3rd string at all. So we've got 4th and index on 4 and 3. So take a look at what happens. You can see that I'm playing out of that staircase, but I don't even need the ring finger. Whoops. Okay, so not a hard transition. So to finish up, I'm going to play string 2 and then 5 on string 1 with my ring. So taking it back at the start of 17, let's break it down one more time. So F minor. Then we have an up strum with the diminished shape, but we only need the bottom of it, right? So we don't need string 4, we just need 3, 2, and 1. So up strum, add the pinky to 6, strum down, string 2, lift the pinky up, string 1, switch to the minor staircase without the ring, strum down, string 2, add the ring to 5 on string 1. So again, so it sounds and looks like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So not too hard, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Rhythmically, it's super easy compared to the crazy lick that we had in the previous 2 bars. So ba do da da ba do ba do. You can also sing out the beats, that helps you, or you can kind of groove like we've done. That's a good way to practice that, kind of put it on a loop like that for y'all. But those 2 measures, much easier to play than the last 2. Now, at this point, I want to kind of just hit pause. We've done 11 through 18. It's going to sound like this. This is a recap of everything we've done so far. So that's a pretty good gist of what we've covered thus far. And I wanted to recap right there because if we take a look at the next half and listen to it, it's got kind of a different sound, a different feel to it. Right, so there's our next 4 bars. And then if you listen to the last part of it, right, you can kind of hear that continuation of a different sound. So the first half that we've tackled so far for theme 2 really just kind of has this driving bluesy feel, and then the second half kind of goes back to more of a melodic chord progression type of sound, in my opinion. So something to point out, there's a little bit of a contouring difference between the 2 sounds. So kicking off on this second half, we're starting with measure number 19. So go back to the stock C chord. And this is really simple stuff for this bar. So we're going to go strum for 1, 2, 3. And that's going to be our rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so strum for 1, 2, 3. Take it to the A minor, stock A minor with middle finger up top. We've got the same rhythm, but a little bit trickier because we've got a hammer on that we're going to be doing. So strum 4. And then we're going to do a strum 4 and 3, and hammer on with your ring finger to the 2nd fret on string 3. Lift up, open C, back to string 4. So we have strum 4, hammer 3, 4. Okay? Ba, do, da, da, da. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So from C, like that. So not too hard. This one I think is really easy. Come in. So there's a couple times on a loop for you guys, but very simple compared to some that we've done before. If we look at our next couple measures, we're going to switch to our D minor. So remember, partial bar on 5, string 1, 2, and 3. Ring is 7 on string 4. Now for this one, there's a couple ways we can approach playing it, but I think I'll go with the way that I think is going to be the easiest for most folks. And that's going to be to do this. So give me a strum for the first hit, strum 4, and then drop that ring finger down. And I want you to do a strum of 3 down, and do a hammer on to 7. So we're going to use our ring finger twice. We're going to use it for the top of the chord and then the bottom of the chord. Now, if you want to feel Olympic, you can use your pinky and kind of squeeze everything in to get that 4th string to sustain and ring out, but I think that's a little bit tricky. And you got to remember too, the end goal is to play along with the backing track, so the bass player is going to be providing some of that low end, so we don't have to get every single low end note on our own. Okay, so I would use the ring finger. So after you do the hammer on, strum 3 down, hammer on to 7, Lift up, play 5 on string 1, and then 8 on string 2 with your pinky. So have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So not too bad with that measure. Let's try together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. Okay, take that index, move it up to sev, so strings 4, 3, and 2. We end up with a G chord. Give me a strum 4 to 2. Hit string 4 again, then give me another strum 4 to 2, and then walk a melody up 8, 10 on string 2. So same rhythm, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So try together, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. And if I don't miss the last note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, those two together. Pretty easy stuff. So you can already hear the last 4 bars, they have just that different sound than the start of theme 2. Now, as we go into the next measures, 23 and 24, we're kind of continuing, but we have a melodic walk up on the A string. So that's what 23 and 24 sound like. So take it back to the C, and we start the same. 1, 2, 3, 4. So strum, 4 strum, then take the pinky, put it on 5, and then up to sev. Okay, so now you can see as I move up to sev, I'm keeping that staircase shape intact, because when I go up to the next measure, F, which is 10, 9, flat on 8, it's the same shape, just moved up the neck. Okay? So with this in mind, when you're moving up, you just want to not do something like that and then have to put down the chord again. You want to just keep that shape intact. So you see how much easier it makes to transition? Alright, so keep that in mind as you're working on this. If you look at 24, it's very simple. So strum, 4 strum, then pinky goes down to 10, and then back to 8 on string 1. So putting it together, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So try that with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One time without me counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. Now, as we take a look at our last 2 bars to end this theme, 2, it's going to sound like this. So we're starting off with the same hits for C, strum, 4 pop. Then we've got a cool little slide lick. So take your ring finger, put it on 7th fret of string 3, and go up a whole step with your slide. And then take your middle finger, put it on 8 on string 2. Slide 8. Slide 8. So sev 9. Now the key thing here is to see on beat 5 that that's a grace note. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you don't want to linger on that slide. Okay. Going into a G7, take the index, lay it flat on the 7th fret strings 1, 2, and 3. Add your middle to 8 on string 1. So strum 4, so 3 this time, my bad. Strum, 3, strum, then lift the middle finger up, play sev on string 1, and then 10 on string 2 with your pinky. So strum, 3, strum, sev, 10. This time around, we want it to sustain. We want everything to sustain. So don't pop that one. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Putting it together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sounds like that. Try together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. Okay, one more time. Ba da da ba ba da da ba do do. So a beautiful little ending before we go into the solo. So we're actually playing rhythm for the solo. But before we tackle theme 3, let's just do a recap of the second half of theme number 2. And the second half, remember, starts on bar number 19. So it sounds like that. And if I recap the entirety of theme 3, remember the first half has a bit of a different sound. So kind of a cool first half, right? We have that bluesy little feel, and then it goes into more of a melodic chord harmony for the second half. Now that's going to be everything for theme 2. So theme 3 is where the guitar solo happens. And theme 3, our part for the ukulele is to back up the guitarist. And to back up the guitarist, all we're going to do is strum chords. And it's going to be the same chord progression that we've covered throughout theme number 2. So we're literally just going to do a couple strum patterns that are super duper easy. If we put up the first 2 bars of tab, 27 and 28, just take a look at the down and up strum pattern. You can see it goes down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And that's a rhythm. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So if you can get that memorized, this part is super easy. Start with the C chord. So there's just that down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So there's a couple times in a row. Now, when we go to the C7 chord, we're doing the same thing. Okay? When we go to the F, we're doing the same thing. And then to the F minor. The exact same thing. So those first, 2, 4, 6, 8 bars, they're the exact same strum pattern. Let's see if we can try it together. So we've got down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, go. Now, you can hear this time around, when I played it all together, that I added a little bit of a chunk on that last down strum. So instead of going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, I went down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up chunk. That little chunk just buys me a little bit more time to switch to the next chord a little bit cleaner. So it kind of depends on how fast you're playing along with this tune. If you are going real slow, you can grab all the that extra strum at the end. If you're going faster, the chunk might help you transition from one chord to the next a little bit smoother and cleaner. So try both ways. There's no right or wrong though, so you can choose either or. Now as we go into the latter half, so this is going to be a different strum pattern to finish this up, and it's as simple as the previous one that we did. So let's put up 35 and 36. So you can hear and see that we're going C to A minor. So this is the same as theme 2, where it starts to have that kind of a more melodic harmony in the chord progression, right? And that's our strum progression right here. So we've got our strum pattern. We have down, and then we're going to do a muted up strum at the end. Down, and muted up strum. Of course, we can also add that. We can also add a pop to that last strum. Down, up, pop, mute. So down, up, pop, mute. And that kind of gives it a really cool sound. So if we look at 35 just by itself, we've got So that's down, up, pop, and then muted up strum. Okay, if we go to A minor, we're gonna do the same thing. But that pop, because we have so many open strings, means that we're gonna have to use the palm of our right hand, so this part right here, to touch the strings. So down, up, pop. So after you strum, you just want to mute them. Okay? So a little bit trickier with that one. But after you mute them, you're going to come back up with an up strum that's muted. So putting those two together sounds like that. Let's see if we can try that together. So we've got down, up, pop, mute, down, up, pop, go. Okay, going into our next two, D minor to G. So same thing, down, up, pop, mute to G. Down, up, pop, mute. So we try that together. Down, up, pop, mute, down, up, pop, go. Okay, going to 3940, same thing, C to the F. Remember, same shape, right? So it sounds like that. Da, 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 ba, ba, da, da, go. A little bit easier when you don't have to switch between chords. And then to finish it up, 41 into 42, we're back to C. And then you can see that for 42, we're back to that same G7 ending that we finished theme 2 with. So you know how to play both of these. Let's try it together. Ba da da ba ba da ba da da. And that's what we end up with. So putting it as a whole, we really just have two strum patterns, right? So the first half, that bluesy theme, we had a good little gist of the two strum patterns put back to back for that whole theme 3. And again, we're just comping the guitar solo. So we've taken a back seat and we want the guitar to shine in this part. And we just want to back up the lead player. Now, after that, you're going into theme 4. And theme 4 is the same as theme 1. So you're back to playing the same first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bars. Up until you get to bar 9 and 10, and for this part in the tab, we're looking at measure 51, 52, and 53. It's going to sound like this. So we have a different little ending lick with a ritardando added just to give us a graceful ending for the song. So starting with the C chord, we're going strum 2, 3, then take your pinky finger, go to the 5th fret on the A string, slide up to the 7th, back to the 3rd fret, back to the 5th on string 2. And we're going to do a pull off to the 3rd fret. So starting on 51, sounds like that. Let me clean it up. Okay. To finish it up, take the middle finger, go to the 4th fret of string 3, slide down to 2, pull off to the open C, and then we're just going to end with stock C major. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, strum. Okay? But the key thing here is you want to add a little bit of a ritardando, about right there. Okay? So that one I think you guys can tackle on your own. Just go nice and slow. And take it at your own pace. So that's going to wrap up everything for this lesson, guys. And this was a really cool tune for me to write because it really utilizes electric guitar kind of playing technique and style. And it's kind of cool to put it onto electric ukulele. But with that said, you guys had 3 options for playing this, right? You could grab an electric uke, or you could play it on acoustic uke, or you could grab a guitar and capo on the 5th fret, and bada bing, bada boom, you've got electric uke without having to buy one, right? So I do want to give you guys a friendly reminder that if you do want to get the tabs to print off, follow along with, that was available at this link right here, or you can go to the site rockclass101.com, do a search for EP016, that's the lesson number for this lesson. Now, if you do want to learn the guitar solo, we will have it tabbed out and notated in the tabs, so if you've got a guitar you want to learn that, the solo is notated, so have fun, ton of fun to play. But there's also the interactive on-screen tab viewer that's on that page, so you definitely want to check that out because you can literally highlight bars to loop them. You can slow it down to any speed. Just a great tool for learning this song that much easier. Plus the backing tracks are on the page too. So once you do learn the uke part, you can play along with the bass and the guitar, which is a blast as well. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care.